In this presentation, we will take a look at some techniques to both print and export reports to Excel within QuickBooks Online. Here we are in our test drive file with Craig's Design and Landscaping. We're going to go down and we're going to open some reports and we're going to consider some of the printing and exporting options. Really important to understand the printing and exporting options because oftentimes when you're running reports, you will be running them for somebody else, presenting them in some way, and half of what you want to do with the presenting is just kind of make it look nice, make it easy on the person that you're presenting it to, figure out how you're going to give it to them, if it's a paper file, if it's going to be emailed, if it's going to be posted in some type of way, how can you do it in such a way that it'll be easy for the user to be able to use. So we're going to go down to the reports down here. We're going to be opening up our favorite two reports, that being the balance sheet and the profit and loss report. Let's start off with the balance sheet. I'm going to open up the balance sheet report. I'm going to scroll up top, make the date range 01/01/19 to 12/31/19. I'm going to go ahead and run that report. Then I'm going to duplicate our screen as we've done in the past. I'm going to go back up top to the tab. I'm going to right click on that tab and we're going to duplicate that tab. Then I'm going to go back to the previous tab and we're going to open up our profit and loss report as we've done in the past. I'm going to go back down to the reports down below. We're going to go then to our favorite report of the profit and loss report. I'm going to change the dates back up top again. So the beginning date, I'm going to say 01/01/19 to 12/31/19. Then I'm going to run that report. And then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that report. I'm going to right click on it and duplicate that report. Now we're back on the balance sheet tab and I'm holding down control and I zoomed in to get to 125. So at 125, we're going to consider the options for providing the report to others. We have two reports now, profit and loss and the balance sheet report. We're going to give them to possibly a client or possibly a supervisor or something like that. Options for that typically will be we print the report and we give it by a paper report, or we have the email of the report, or we save the report and we email it in that type of fashion. Now, if we're going to print the report, obviously, we would then go to the printing option here. We want to print the report. Then we would need to choose the appropriate printer that we're going to be sending it to up top. We're going to have the pages and the number of copies that we want. Those will be the typical type of settings. Now, if the report didn't fit on one page and we want to adjust the page, we can go into basically settings to adjust the settings to make it fit on one page. We could do that in two different ways in a similar fashion as you might do in something like Microsoft Word or Excel. We can actually go into the report and adjust the font sizes and whatnot within the report, or we can set the setting to basically force it to fit on one page by doing whatever it needs to do, adjusting the size of the font tip. So if we go into the more settings down here, we have the paper size, we have the letter paper size, pages per sheet is going to be 1, the quality, and then the scale. And then we can adjust the scaling. So I'm going to cancel this back out. The other options we have, I'm going to close this back out as well. The other option we have is if we're going to email it, that's often a nice option. We could go directly to the email here and send out the report in email. Now, the problem with this, if you send it out directly, then you have to, if you're sending two reports, then you got to send two separate emails with two separate reports. So if you only have one report, that could be pretty good. Two reports, not too bad. But if you start to get like 5 reports and you have 5 different emails, that might be something that's not as nice when you're receiving the emails. So it would be better possibly if you can group them together in some other fashion. So if that's the case, you got a bunch of reports that you want to email in some way, then and or edit in some way, then you could export as a PDF file. So another option is you could say, all right, I'm going to go ahead and export it as a PDF file, and that way I can put it on the computer and then possibly email it with one email, and I could put 2 attachments on the email, or I can zip the file. So let's take a look at that one real quick. If I save this as a PDF, for example, and then I put this into my folder, and then I'm gonna close this back out, and then I'm gonna do the same thing for the P&L. So I'm gonna close this back out. I'm gonna go to the profit and loss report in the previous tab now. I'm gonna scroll up a little bit. I'm holding down control, scroll up. So you can, now I'm at 150. I'm going to go to the option here. We're going to export as a PDF, and then we'll save as a PDF. So then I'm going to pull that over into a folder. So now I'm going to pull that over into our folder. This way then now we have our 2 PDF files here, and we can then email that with 2 attachments in one email, which isn't too bad. Now, if we had more than 2 attachments in an email, then you could zip them in this format. I could make a new folder and I could call it financial statements, and I could put these into that folder, right? I could say, all right, let's put these into that folder, and I can't attach the folder itself because it won't let me attach a folder typically to an email. But if I zip it by right-clicking on the folder and sending to a zipped or compressed file, then typically we can send the compressed file. So if you're sending like something like 3 or more reports, like 5 reports, then I would probably recommend doing that. It's going to be easier for the recipient than to say, okay, now I got a zipped file. I don't have an email with like 10 files in it, and I got to open up each of the individual PDF files and then save them individually. They can just open up the one zipped file and basically save that. It'll also, of course, make the email smaller. So if you have a whole lot of reports, then you're not going to hit the cap on the email limit in terms of the data that you can send by email. Now, the other thing you want to be aware of is that not all reports, if you get into the graphs and things like this and other software as well, you may not have the export as a PDF option. A lot of times you're going to have the printing option, but not the export. And even if you don't have the printing option, you can print the screen a lot of times. So therefore, what you want to do is you would like to have an option where you can print the reports by basically sending them to the printer and having the printer then convert it to a PDF rather than a physical printer. And one program you can use to do this, it's a free program. I'm not advertising it in terms of I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but the Qt PDF printer is one printer you can do that. In other words, if you download the printer for Qt PDF printer or some other kind of PDF printer option, then you can print something, send it not to an actual printer, but to this basically Qt PDF printer, which will convert it to a PDF file. So this is one way that you can convert to a PDF file, even if the software doesn't allow you or give you the option to save something as a PDF. So let's just take a look at that. If you were to download something like this, and I will use this option often because I think it's really useful for someone to have on their computer for QuickBooks and other reports as well. So for that, then you can say, all right, I'm gonna save it as a PDF, but I'm gonna do it by going through the printer. So I'm gonna go through the printer option. I'm gonna go to print here, and then I'm gonna choose the printer. But the printer I'm gonna choose isn't an actual physical printer, but rather a PDF printer. So I'm gonna choose that PDF printer, which when I then print to it, will save it as a PDF. So I'm gonna go to the Qt PDF printer, and then I'm going to print it, and it's not going to physically print it here. It's going to convert it to a PDF. That's what the Qt PDF printer will do. So we'll go ahead and print that. Here's my option. I already printed it, and there it is. So here's the window to basically save it, and then I would go back up to my desktop. I'm going to save it in the course data, and this is going to be the balance sheet. Balance sheet. So there we have it. I'll go ahead and save that. So that's another way that you can basically save it. And again, I would recommend having some kind of PDF printer because it could be really useful in those circumstances where you'd like to save the thing as a PDF, but there's no option, as there is for many of the reports, most of the reports in QuickBooks, to save as a PDF. Now, the other option you have is to export it to Excel. There's a few reasons why you'd want to do this. One is that you could save multiple reports in one Excel file. You can send that one report to somebody, although it would be in Excel, and so some people might like that, some people may not. But also, you can actually convert the Excel file to a PDF file, to have one PDF file with 2 reports in it. So let's take, and then thirdly, you can actually manipulate the Excel file a little bit more than you could the other file. So if you have some formatting issues that you would like to do some more formatting to, that you don't have the option to do within the QuickBooks reports, you can do those within Excel. Also, the QuickBooks reports can be used as like a base report that you're then going to create your own report from. You can use the numbers within QuickBooks to then create some other report that you might want to use, for example, internally. Export the reports from QuickBooks and then change the reports to whatever your needs are for it. So to do that, I'm going to go back here again. I'm going to go to Export Reports. And then it just is going to generate Excel. Now, obviously, you will need Excel in order for this to work. You'll have to have access to Excel to have it. And then it'll look something like this. I'm going to enable the report now. So I'm going to say enable. And there it is. So now we've got our information here, and now you can manipulate this report if you need to, right? You can go in here and say, oh, I'd like to format it a bit differently before I print the report, and you can go through it and make any adjustments you need. You can see the formulas that are involved in the report, and again, you can use the report for a baseline to do other type of adjustments. Like, for example, if you want to emphasize a number, you can make that number yellow a little bit more easily. You can do some of this stuff in QuickBooks too, but you're probably more familiar, moving around Microsoft Office, such as Excel, and therefore doing type of adjustments like that might be easier. At least it is for me. And then I'm going to export this one, or I'm going to save this. I'm going to go to File. I'm going to say Save As, and Browse. And then I'm going to put this back on our desktop again. And then I'm going to rename this Financial Statements. Financial Statements. All right, and then I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to take a look at the profit and loss report. Now, again, we could give this to someone in this format, right? We could provide this to someone, but we could also save it. I could save this report as a PDF file. So I could do the same thing. Once I manipulate it, I can go to Save As. And once I change it or put colors on it is what I mean. We can say Save As, and we'll change the file type down here to a PDF file. So we would save it as a PDF file, and then we could save it in that format after we change the formatting of it. So I'm going to go back now. I'm going to go back to the front page, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the profit and loss report. So if I go back to our QuickBooks Online, and then we go to the profit and loss report, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to export it as an Excel worksheet. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to say Export as an Excel worksheet. And then, of course, we can do the same thing here. If I was to open this one up, we can then adjust this one as well. Now, what I'd like to do is put both of these on one sheet. So I want to have two tabs, but both of these Excel worksheets on one workbook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this triangle up top, which is going to select the whole thing. I'm going to select the triangle. That selects the entire sheet. Then I'm going to right-click on the selected sheet and copy it. So we'll copy that. And then I'm going to go back to our other file. I'm going to make a new tab down here. I'm going to say plus new tab. And then I'm going to put my cursor on A1, right click, and paste the entire sheet. And so that's one way you can get two sheets. And now I'm going to rename the tab by double clicking the tab down below and call it a P. I'm just going to call it P and L. And so now, and then I'm going to close this one back out. I don't need to save it. So now we have our balance sheet and our P&L on one Excel file. So you can imagine doing that with multiple different reports, and then you can basically give one Excel file to somebody, or you can convert that one Excel file to one PDF, which has two reports on it, which is nice. So if you have multiple reports, instead of giving a zipped file with 10 reports on it, you can give one PDF file this way, which would have multiple reports. That would look like this. You can go to the File tab up top. We can go to the Save As. We're going to Browse. Actually, I'm going to close that back up again. I'm going to go to the Printing options, not the Save As, and I'm going to use that Qt PDF printer again. This is another area the Qt PDF printer is useful. I'm going to save it as a Qt PDF printer, and that means it's going to save as a PDF. Then I want to save not just the first page here. I want to save both worksheets. So what I want to do is have not the print active sheet, but I want to print the entire workbook. So I'm going to print the entire workbook, which is now 4 pages, balance sheet, and then the profit and loss. And then we're going to be sending it to the Qt PDF printer. Let's go ahead and print that, see what it will look like. And then when I print it, given the fact that we're using the Qt PDF printer, we're going to have our saving option here. I'm going to put it into, let's just keep it here. And I'm going to call it, let's go close this out. I'm going to call it Financial Statements and save that. And then if we go into our reports, now we've got this PDF file called Financial Statements, which we can attach one report now to an email rather than having the zipped files. And that one report will have the balance sheet, and then scrolling down, we'll have the profit and loss report. Now we'll get into more items with regards to formatting these reports and whatnot, but the basic, how you're going to send these reports out is important. And the ways you can send them out, obviously, you could print things and have multiple things that you're going to print if you're going to have something in the same office. You can email it, and when you email it, then you could email the individual attached files when you email it, and that would work unless if you have more than like 3 attachments, then I would think that you would want to at least zip it, because that'll make it a little bit more professional. And if you want to impress people further and or make it a little bit easier, especially if there's going to be a whole lot of reports, then you can use the technique with Excel and the Qt PDF printer so that you can get all of the reports on one PDF file. And again, the presentation of the reports, the giving of the reports is part of the process. You want to make it as easy as possible for the recipient, especially if they're going to be a client, to just be appreciative of the format of the report and the way the report has been given in a way that's professional and as easy to work with as possible.